So you haven't heard enough about the 2018 QB draft class in the NFL? Well, you've come to the right place. Welcome to Believers Talk with Joe and Steve.
I'm Steve.
I'm Joe. We'll be your host today, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the 2018 QB draft class, and we're going to rank them, and then we're going to talk about them a little bit as well. So welcome. If this is your first time, please be sure to subscribe to this network for continuing content on both the Buffalo Bills and for just continuing content around the league. We will keep giving you, we gave you a combine video.
Yeah.
We'll give you a draft video. We'll talk about the
Signings,
things of that nature. Yeah. We'll continue to do that kind of thing. So just be sure to keep checking in, and we'll be happy to keep you informed. So before we get started, it's kind of ironic, I think, that we're talking about quarterbacks today. For most of you probably already heard, Jim Kelly, our quarterback, our Hall of Fame quarterback, his cancer did come back. So before we talk about the up-and-coming young stars, we want to make sure we talk about him as well. And yeah, so he had oral cancer back in 2014, and it was, well, probably before that, but in 2014 it was cleared. So. But the doctors, I guess, at some point told him that I came back. So I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add, or
Yeah, I guess I read that his daughter Erin and his doctor actually talked him into getting a biopsy.
Okay.
And that's how he found out.
Gotcha.
It looks like they're going to have to reconstruct his upper jawbone and everything. So he's got some tough surgery ahead of him.
long
feel
road
for
ahead,
him.
right.
He was my favorite player growing up.
Yeah.
He's the guy who I always looked up to. I got to meet him a few times. So. I'm very happy that I got to meet him. He's always been, very great to me every time I got to meet him and talk to him. He actually played around with my son the last time I saw him. So for me, that was a cool thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, as Bills fans, we all kind of love Jim Kelly from back in the glory days on the field. And
right.
He's had some tough off the field things.
Absolutely.
So we just wish him the best of luck, and hopefully he can beat it yet again.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, obviously on this show we want to keep things light and fun and have a good time. But sometimes things like this come up and there's nothing we can do. So to the whole Kelly family, if you're out there, I'm not sure if you'll ever see this, but we're behind you. The Jose Buffalo's behind you. Bills Mafia's behind you. You got a lot of support, and so we're just thinking about you and wish you the best.
Yeah, Kelly Tough.
So. Kelly Tough, that's right.
Good,
so let's do it. But now let's get into the show a little bit. So yeah, we're going to talk about ranking of the QB class.
Yeah.
So Steve, if you want to start us off, we're going to rank the top 10. Normally, actually this year I read that they invited 19 to the combine. Okay. But normally in draft you get somewhere between 10 and 12 drafted overall. So this is just a list of guys we think who will hear their names called at some point in the draft. So
yeah, this is a very deep quarterback draft class. So there could be possibly 15 drafts this year.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'll start off with number 10, Riley Ferguson out of Memphis. And what we're going to do is just we'll go through, say our list, and then we'll discuss most of them.
Yep.
I'm going to go Mike White at 9 from Western Kentucky. At number 8, Kyle Arletta out of Richmond. Number 7 would be Luke Falk from Washington State.
Yep.
6, this might be maybe low for some people or high for some people. Lamar Jackson out of Louisville.
Yeah.
5 would be Mason Rudolph from Oklahoma State. 4, this kind of has me up in the air here.
Yeah.
Josh Allen, Wyoming.
Yeah.
Number 3 would be Sam Darnold out of USC. And then 2, which people might think this is higher over him, but Baker Mayfield out of Oklahoma. I really like him. And number 1, surprise, surprise, Josh Rosen.
Josh Rosen, yeah. We might have a little bias there, considering what we've heard, but yeah, Josh Rosen, don't think you can go wrong with him. I think he's going to be a stud. So that's Steve's top 10, and like he said, I'll list my top 10 here, and then we'll talk about some differences we have and some similarities. Number 10, I got Mike West out of West Virginia. I think you had him on your list as well, right? Number 9 or something like that. Or Mike White, I'm sorry, Mike White, not Mike West.
Out of Western
Kentucky, yeah. Number 9 would be Nick Shimnick from Texas Tech. So I know he was on your list, so that's one that we kind of disagree on. But again, with the depth in this draft, goes nuts, right? 8, Josh Allen from Wyoming. 7, Lamar Jackson from Louisville. 6, Kyle Loletta from Richmond. 5, Luke Falk, Washington State. 4, Sam Darnold, 3, Mason Rudolph, 2, Josh Rosen, and I hope that they don't think he was too high for you, because at number 1, I have Baker Mayfield from Oklahoma. So those are our top 10s. Obviously, you'll disagree, so if you have your own top 10, put them down in the comment section. We'll talk about it. It'll be fun. It'll be fun back and forth. So first, let's talk about the one guy I think is the most polarizing of this draft, and that would be Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
We actually both have him. I was surprised. Like, a lot of people like him, a lot of people aren't sure about him. So what made you put him at 6?
I just think Rosen, he's the head of the class. He's ready to come in. I do have some worries about him, but Rosen, Baker Mayfield, I think he's the most polarizing player as a quarterback position. Darnold, Allen, Rudolph. Lamar Jackson, I think him and Rudolph are kind of at that 5-6. I can go either way.
Okay.
I like Lamar Jackson's ability. Like he can make all the throws, and he's athletic.
Yep.
I just worry a little bit with him, and all this talk of him playing receiver, I don't think that's necessarily what he should do. I think he is a quarterback. Let him be a quarterback.
Right.
But I think him and Rudolph kind of have to sit a year, and that's why they're at that 5-6 range for me. Yep. So that's the only concern I have with Jackson. I think the guys ahead of him can come in and play right away. Yeah. But Jackson and Rudolph, I think they just need to sit a little bit and learn.
Right.
Jackson could fit where we're at, because I did read that Louisville runs the same offensive system as New England.
Okay.
And where did the ball come from originally? New England. So it could be something we have to look into. I didn't know about that until I read up about it. So.
Right. Yeah, no, that'd be interesting. I know that there's been a lot of people out there on social media who are Bills fans who like Lamar Jackson and are really thinking that we're going to get him. I have to admit, I'm not that big of a fan. And a lot of people will look at his rushing stats and say, oh, but he's a dual threat guy. And you're right. And that's my biggest problem with Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
You have this guy behind you called the running back. He is the one to run the ball. Lamar Jackson, he finds himself running. I find that he runs too quickly. Okay. Like he looks through his first and second projection, and then bam, gone. A lot of run option plays I saw him running in film. It looked to me, and obviously I have a different view of it than he does, obviously. But it looked to me like if he would have simply dished it to the running back had a lot of yards in front of him, but he kept it and then would gain a yard. And so to me, that shows a little selfishness a little bit with the ball. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm down so low. You know, his completion percentage for his career was under 60%. He throws just about an interception a game. Okay. So these are stats to me that, you know, I just don't like. And his read of projection, his going through projections of 1, 2, and then running, I'm not a fan of that. But that's about it with him.
With him, I think he makes a lot of down the field throws. Though.
Yes.
So his completion percentage might be a little lower, but he's throwing the ball down the field. He's pushing a little more. I like that he's a dual threat, and I think Bean has kind of liked him to Cam Newton. Now it's a different style of running because Jackson's a little smaller, and I think he's a little more shifty than Cam Newton. But I want a quarterback that's going to win from the pocket. Obviously, if you can run and get out, that's a benefit, but I want you to be able to win from the pocket. And I think he just needs a year to sit. And, a lot of people will say back to Bridgewater. I didn't like Bridgewater coming out. So it's kind of one of those things. I think I'd have to wait and see on Lamar Jackson, but he is scheduled to meet with the Bills.
Right. He is scheduled to meet with the Bills. While you look that up, there's also been a comparison with him and Andy Dalton. I saw that a couple times. Just because if you look at their measurables, they're pretty much the exact guy. Right. I don't want Andy Dalton as my quarterback.
Yeah.
I'm not, especially in the first round. You know what I mean? If you because I think Andy Dalton personally is like a C+ quarterback. He's a little above average, but he hasn't won the playoffs. And I don't want a guy that just wins in the regular season. I want the guy that can take us to the playoffs and win in the playoffs. And another thing about Lamar Jackson, I looked up the top 5 running quarterbacks of all time. Okay. And the top 5: Michael Vick, of course, Randall Cunningham, Steve Young, Fran Tarkenton, and Cam Newton. Okay. 2 Super Bowl wins, 6 appearances. both wins by Steve Young. Okay, so they can do it, which is good. But you look at the 5 best passing leaders of the NFL. There's 9 Super Bowls and 16 appearances. So winning from the pocket to me is just so important.
Yeah, I think that's where we're on the same page there. Is I want somebody that can win from the pocket, that can shift coverages or blocking schemes with their linemen, can audible plays. And I'm not saying Jackson can't do that.
Right.
I just think he's a year behind some of these other guys, and that's why I have him at 6. But.
Absolutely. So let's move to the guy that you think is the most polarizing, who actually probably is. I was probably misspoken with Lamar Jackson, but Baker Mayfield. You have him as 2. I have him as 1. So what do you think?
Yeah, he's scheduled to meet with the Bills.
Yep.
That's actually tonight here, Monday night.
Yep.
Or no, sorry,
Saturday
night. My days are confused. It's been a long week. But no, it's Friday night.
We're both wrong.
Yeah,
it's Friday night.
It's Friday night. Sorry. This is starting off with a bang.
Right, exactly.
But for me, Baker Mayfield, and everybody's going to bust me for saying this, he has the it factor.
Right.
And everybody's going to say, what's the it factor?
Yeah.
The guy's a winner.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody follows him.
Yep.
At the Senior Bowl, I heard he was running around trying to get the last rep out of everything. All the players rallied around him. At the Senior Bowl, he didn't have a stellar game, I don't think.
No.
Practice, he was kind of iffy. He flew in late, and they sent him the playbook before he flew in. And when he got there, he knew the playbook.
Yeah.
So everybody was surprised.
Right.
Everybody says about the off-the-field incident with the DUI.
Yeah.
I see that as a college kid.
Sure.
I hope he learned from it.
Yeah.
Now
absolutely.
going into the NFL, you're a face of the franchise. You can't really have that stuff happen. The Kansas game where he grabbed his crotch after they scored a touchdown.
Yeah.
That doesn't bother me as much. It would bother me if he was okay with losing, or somebody disrespects me. It is what it is. But he's so competitive that all those things combined, the it factor. That's what it is.
Absolutely.
I feel he can make all the throws. He doesn't have the strongest arm.
Right.
But he can anticipate throws, and he's accurate. And he can escape. He is shorter, but so is Drew Brees. So
exactly. Yeah, he's the shortest QB in the draft, actually. At 6'1", I think he is. But one thing that I think, I agree with you on everything you said. He has the it factor, and everyone talking about how he might be the next Johnny Manziel is only going to fuel that fire for him. And that might keep him on the right track of staying clean, and making sure that he doesn't be like Johnny Manziel. I just really like Baker Mayfield. He's throwing almost 3 touchdowns a game. You look at that tape against Georgia in the Rose Bowl, I think it was, right? I mean, he played great. Yeah, he had some snuffs in the first half, but he came back in a very hostile environment for a lot of that game, actually. And came back and played really well. They didn't win the game, but I don't think that was really on him.
And Georgia's a really good team.
Exactly.
They were
really good. And he's completing the ball at 69%.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't beat that. I think that's the highest percentage. I can look down real quick. I think that's the highest percentage of anyone in the draft.
Now, the only thing with Mayfield that worries me, if we're going to get on the conversation here about him, is he played from a spread offense.
Yes.
He was in the shotgun, so him taking snaps under center, that's some things that I want to watch at the combine tomorrow.
Right.
So
see how he does. Yeah, absolutely.
I want to see that. That's the thing that worries me about Mayfield. Playing, in the huddle, coming up to the line, and doing all that from being under center.
Yeah.
He looked a little out of sorts at the Senior Bowl doing that stuff.
Right.
Hopefully he progressed and got better at that.
Yeah. And he only played 2 series in the Senior Bowl. So, but you do have like the whole week of practice to get used to that. He was late for family reasons, right?
His mom was in the hospital.
Right. So it wasn't like he was being irresponsible or anything like that. His mom was in the hospital, so he stayed back for a little bit. Flew in late, but he knew the playbook, so obviously he was studying it prior to getting there.
And another thing too, the Senior Bowl, a lot of the top quarterbacks don't go to the Senior Bowl.
Right.
So he did that, and a lot of other people haven't done it. Kudos to him for doing it, and especially with the circumstance, him showing up late, knowing the playbook. So overall, he had maybe a little sketchy week on the practice field, but he did pretty good overall.
Yeah. So Baker's my number 1. So let's move to your number 1. I have this guy at number 2, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was 1 on everyone's draft board. It's Josh Rosen. So I didn't know if you wanted to.
Yeah, I think he just has about everything you ask in a quarterback.
Yeah.
He can make every single throw. He's probably the most accurate. Now, when you're looking at some of the numbers, his numbers might look a little down. But I read that he had 55% of his passes dropped.
Yeah.
They were dropped passes by his receivers.
Okay.
He didn't have a lot of help this year. So
Yeah.
just to combine this, Mayfield, Darnold, and Allen, my other top three, they had 45% of their passes dropped combined.
Okay.
So
wow.
Yeah. So
That's
it's a big difference.
Yeah.
But,
and I like Rosen can make every throw.
Yeah.
And that's one thing.
It's so easy for
Yeah,
him.
it looks so easy for him. And that's one thing I saw better out of Rosen than a lot of the other guys was inside the red zone.
Yep.
Like his pinpoint accuracy inside the red zone, that loft that he can find the ball, very nice. So yeah, I think Josh Rosen, if I could do 1A, 1B, it would be more like that instead of 1 and 2.
Yeah.
But
I mean, he's played from under center.
Right.
He has a pocket poise. He can move around. I think he's heading toes above everybody.
Absolutely.
My concern with Rosen is I believe he had 2 concussions last year. So that when that starts coming in the picture as a quarterback, that scares me a little bit. Especially he's a pocket guy, so he's going to stand in the pocket. But then again, they do kind of get taken care of a little more in the NFL.
Yeah.
He did have, I believe, a shoulder injury too. So those are some things that the
Yeah.
Bills, any other team has to check off before that. But I think he's by far the most ready to come out and play right away. And I think.
And the Bills are scheduling an interview with him as well.
Yeah.
So he's going to be interviewed. Today, I figured it was today, yesterday, but Bean came out and said, we're really looking into the quarterback position. Well, there's a reason for that. So, so he's going to be interviewed. Baker's going to be interviewed. Lamar Jackson, I believe, already was interviewed, right? So, and I'm sure there's going to be more to come from the combine too.
Yeah.
So we'll move down to your number 3 on your board. You have Sam Darnold. I actually have him as 4.
Okay.
For me, it was the fumbles. Past 2 years, he's had 21 fumbles, 14 of them lost. So that's a lot. That's a lot. And one of the reasons is because of his release. Like he does bring the ball back. It's elongated release. And I believe you told me this, and I feel the same way. That's why he's not throwing at the combine, because he's working on that release. And to me, that also worries me a little bit. Now, Phillip Rivers went through a period of that where he was more of like a sidearm guy. And he worked on his release a little bit.
He still does have that sidearm though. And I mean, I loved Phillip Rivers coming out. He probably was my number 1 quarterback in that draft.
Oh.
So.
Yeah, he ended up being number 1. I mean, if they come to trade, right?
Yeah.
I'm not. That's what really has me concerned. What I like about Sam Darnold is he has good agility. You know, he has a good pocket presence for the most part. He does take some unnecessary risks, but I do like that about him. So I don't know if you want to say anything more.
Yeah, the turnovers this past year were awful. The fumbles. He carries the ball a little loosely in the pocket. Interceptions. He was pretty good this year. Now, going back to the year before when they played Penn State in the Rose Bowl, my God, like Sam Darnold was a surefire number 1 pick. Like I would have easily put him above Josh Rosen
at that point.
I just feel this year, and it's also to me at USC they always have so much talent.
Right.
And maybe it's that I hold them to a higher standard of the quarterback play because you have so much talent around you compared to other teams. Everybody wants to go to California.
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely.
So. And UCLA is out there too, but they don't get the talent.
They don't get the talent. They don't. They have
Southern Cal. But
UCLA has higher academic standards that kind of make it harder for some to get in. But
so that's the thing with Darnold. He can play from the pocket. He can make the throws.
Right.
Doesn't have as strong as arm as Rosen.
Right. No, not at all.
The turnovers scared me this year. That's why I have him drop down to 3.
Yep. So my number 3, and I think he's number 5 on your list, is Mason Rudolph out of Oklahoma State. So I personally feel like a lot of people are drafting him back just because of the conference he plays in, right? He put up huge numbers, but it's easy to put up huge numbers in the Big 12 for a quarterback. It just is. But I really like him. I like his precision. I like his touch on the ball too. One thing that worries me is he doesn't like the way he turns his body when he throws sometimes just worries me. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not a scout, so I can't really put my eye on it like others can. But just some of his movement in the pocket worries me. I don't think he is the most agile, at least in any of the film I watched. I didn't see him out of the pocket too much, but I'm not sure if that's just because I didn't see it. So, but I don't know if you have anything you want to say about him.
What worries me is, and it's with a lot of these quarterbacks, and it's how they are in college, is not being under center.
Right.
And same thing, he's in a wide open Mike Gundy spread offense.
Right.
So that worries me a little bit. I'd like to see him now at the combine tomorrow. He's going to be doing the drills, so that'd be nice to see him kind of taking this 5, 7 drops.
Yep.
You know? So we'll see how that goes. But I think he can make all the throws.
Yeah.
His accuracy is pretty good. He's been a 3-year starter.
Right.
He did start, like, I guess, middle of the season his freshman year.
Yeah.
So he has a lot of football underneath it, you know, in his belt. But we'll see. I'm not really sold on him. I think he's a possibility for Buffalo.
Yeah.
And I think he'd be there. But same thing with Lamar Jackson. It's just kind of a little scary there.
Yeah, I agree with Lamar Jackson and Mason Rudolph. Sit them for a year so they can learn the system a little bit better. Learn how to take more snaps under center for Mason Rudolph for sure, and just learn the system a little bit. Like I think when you're talking 1, 2, 3 with Rosen, Mayfield, Darnold, whatever, or whoever it is, you're talking like starting right away, right? Like they're going to start day one. When you're talking Mason Rudolph, Lamar Jackson, who I do believe teams are going to stretch into the first round to get them. But I do think that they'd be better set as a backup, and we'll talk about this more in our draft preview, and we'll talk about this more after the combine as well. But, you talk about teams like Jacksonville who just signed like Bortles, but they could still get a quarterback, and these guys would be, I think, good options.
Yeah, I think Lamar Jackson fits Jacksonville pretty good.
Yeah. As I look at our list, this one might be our biggest difference. You have him at 4. I have him down at 8. That's Josh Allen from Wyoming, so I don't know if you wanted to defend him a little bit.
I like Josh Allen. I think he has all the potential.
Sure.
Really strong arm, and for me, that's one of those things that gets overanalyzed. Like as long as their arm strength is good, like everybody's like, oh, that's great because you can't teach that.
Right.
Yeah, but you can work on it a little bit. There's other things with him. Accuracy scares me a little bit. I kind of would want a quarterback that's more accurate, that has the arm strength. Because if they're accurate and have the anticipation, the arm strength isn't as much as a factor.
Right.
But yeah, he didn't have much around him either. I kind of like him to Big Ben.
Okay.
So that's why I put him in the 4.
Sure.
I think he can be Big Ben eventually. They brought along Roethlisberger pretty slow.
Yeah.
He did play, but he had a running game and kind of eased him in, and he came into his own a couple years later. But that's what I kind of see Josh Allen. He's athletic, has a strong arm. I think there's some things to build on with him.
Sure.
And that's we'll have to see, but
with Ben, I mean, I don't know if anyone remembers this. They wanted to send him a whole year, but then Tommy Maddox broke his arm or something like that, and so Tommy Maddox.
It was Tommy Maddox. I can't remember what all happened. I don't know if he just wasn't playing that good.
No,
I can't remember.
He definitely got hurt. I forget exactly what it was, but and then Ben came in, and the rest is history, right? It's really tough to tell with a school like Wyoming. I said the same thing about Wyoming that I would probably say about Paoletta from Richmond. Like you said, they don't have the talent that you would see at a USC or UCLA or Oklahoma. They're not a bigger school. But for me, 56% is not good enough for me. Like you said, that completion percentage really has to get up there. As far as 25 games, not really a great sample size for me. So and that could be good or bad. That could work in both his favor and against him. You don't know. But he 56%, 25 games, he threw 21 interceptions. So that talks about that accuracy a little bit more. So that kind of has me down. Again, for me, when I'm ranking my quarterbacks, I'm just looking at the quarterback stats. And that might be why I have Lamar Jackson down a little bit further than everyone else too, because I'm not looking at running stats. Like if you run the ball, great. Like that's a great benefit, right? A great bonus, but we want that pocket passer. But with Josh Allen, I'm just not sure. Sold 56%, 5,066 yards. That's just barely over 200 yards a game.
Okay.
So those type of numbers for me are like, we have that guy.
Yeah.
So I'm not sold on him. But we'll see. I mean, again, that's a guy that's going to be there later. So if we want to get someone later and not necessarily trade up, that might be a guy we get. And if he sits behind Tyrod for a little bit, maybe he'll learn what not to do.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Next on the list, let me see. We went through Darnold, Allen, Rudolph, Lamar. So we could talk about Luke Falk. We both have him. You have him as 7. I actually have him up a little bit as 5, just because, again, just looking at the stats here, 68.3 completion percentage. And to me, that's pretty good. Now, if I recall, and you'll know this probably better than I do, he does not work from under the center either. He works more
and
of
like
spread
Leach,
offense.
kind of shotgun.
Right.
And that's kind of what I'm going to say about a lot of these quarterbacks.
Right.
And I mean, you guys can bash me for it, but it is what it is. Like college,
absolutely.
everybody's running the spread offense.
Absolutely, yeah. That's college
they want to get
offense
as many athletes on the field,
Sure.
and it's kind of easier to get some people the ball in the space. A little better with that, but yeah, I like Luke Falk. I think he can play from under center.
Okay.
He did do a lot of changing the protection and everything, so I like that.
Yeah.
I think he has strong enough arm, anticipation. His accuracy, I believe he said 63% completion.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think he's more of a backup quarterback.
Sure.
So I don't put him up in the top, but you know, I kind of have him, Loletta, and Mike White in the same category.
Right,
They're all
right.
kind of, you know, developmental guys.
Right. Yeah. And take this for what it is. And again, I'm a stats guy, so I'm gonna throw it at you. 68% completion percentage, 344 plus yards a game.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's impressive. Now, Washington State, they don't, again, out in that conference out there, they don't run the ball too much.
Yeah.
But still, that's an impressive number. You're looking at almost two touchdowns a game. Actually, no, 2.8 touchdowns a game. So almost
Probably
3 touchdowns a game, right? So those are the numbers I look at. But he does have that 1 interception a game too. So we'll see.
See, he comes from the Mike Leach, and
Yeah.
Mike Leach had all these great quarterbacks in Texas Tech,
Right.
and they really didn't do anything.
Didn't
So
pan out,
it
sure.
kind of, that's what worries me.
Yeah.
That same system.
Yeah.
Kind of see.
So we're going to move down now to Kyle Lauletta, who I have at 6, you have at 8.
Yeah.
Again, for me, he's one of these guys, Richmond, you can't really, you're not sure what to think of him, but you can start if you want.
Yeah, at the Senior Bowl, I thought he looked good.
Yeah.
He moved the offense when he was in there. Anticipation was there.
Sure.
Arm strength is kind of
Questionable.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
mediocre.
Yeah.
Developmental guy. There's really
Yeah.
not too much.
Right, there's not too much to say about him. I agree with like his arm strength, something to work on. And being a Bills fan, I look at arm strength probably a little bit more because come November, December, you're going to need that arm strength to sling it in there, right? Because those winds will be howling. Look at the Colts game this past year. You really need the arm strength there. But I agree, developmental guy. I didn't really know much about him until the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
Watched that Senior Bowl, played well at the Senior Bowl, went back, watched some tape. Yeah, overall decent, but nothing shocking, right?
Yeah.
Nothing great. So yeah, developmental guy. Mike White, he's on your list at 9. He's at mine at 10. So same thing there.
Yeah. I liked him at the Senior Bowl.
Right.
Like Loletta,
Right.
he moved the offense, and they looked good with him. He met with the Bills at the Senior Bowl and the Combine, and he said his meeting with the Bills was one of his better ones.
Okay.
So I could see either one of those guys being drafted kind of mid-round.
Yeah.
I don't like those
Fourth,
guys.
fifth,
Yeah, I don't like them in the second round.
Right, absolutely
Maybe
not.
late third
To
to
fifth,
fifth, somewhere
yeah,
around there.
absolutely.
But those are guys that if we draft them, they're going to have to sit a year and develop.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, they could be good because I feel like they have more of a understanding of up at the line, the dropbacks, anticipation, and for me that's a big thing.
Absolutely.
If a quarterback can anticipate the throw or what defense is coming at him, that's a huge stat.
Absolutely.
That's a huge positive to have for him.
Absolutely, yeah. And then our next guys, we both have different guys here, but I have at 9, I have Nick Shimnick from Texas Tech. I forget who you had at 10.
I have Riley Ferguson from Memphis.
Again, developmental guys, could surprise some people, could pull a Tom Brady out of their hat or something like that. But
Yeah, I think Riley, I like him because he's athletic.
Right.
And he's a bit of a gunslinger. So he's going to be like, I'm not going to put him in the category of Brett Favre, but he's similar mentality where he'll try to sling it in and go from there, and you know sometimes it'll help and sometimes it'll make it worse.
Which is why I think I have him out of my top 10 because of that mentality that kind of puts his completion percentage down. I looked at a guy like Nick Shimnick, 66%. Again, I think that's really good. 2 touchdowns a game, 261 yards, one of the lowest interception ratios out of everyone coming out of the draft. So to me, that was something I like that a lot.
I don't get too much into the interception ratio because when somebody says that, and then we go back to Tyrod. And so
Yeah.
That kind of.
It's a give and take thing. Yeah, absolutely. One of the best interception ratios in the league this year was Tyrod Taylor. Well,
yeah.
I have Tyrod Taylor's stats here too, and out of the 10 quarterbacks we just named, he's not as good as any of them other than in completion percentage.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
But he is playing in a lot
different league.
tougher
Absolutely. But
yeah. I mean, the other thing I want to go back to, I missed on this about Rosen.
Yeah.
So, to me, I compare him to Matt Ryan.
Okay.
And if I ask you, would you want Matt Ryan as your quarterback?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Absolutely. Matt Ryan hasn't won a Super Bowl yet either, but he's an MVP. He's a pretty amazing quarterback, and I don't think Atlanta not winning a Super Bowl is his fault. I think he's more the reason why they went to the Super Bowl a year ago. But yeah, some people might disagree with that, and that's okay. You can. But yeah, that's it for our rankings. I don't know if you had anything that you wanted to add.
No, I think that's about it. I mean, I'm interested to see the combine tomorrow to see how all these quarterbacks do.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what we're going to do in the future coming up here, we're going to have a video of what we think the Bills should do with the quarterback position. Obviously, there's going to be some changes there, so look forward to that video. But that's our rankings for right now. Obviously, again, that can change tomorrow with the combine, but that's what we're set at. So before we sign off, again, be sure to subscribe to the channel for continuing content, and we'll continue to do this. Comment. Tell us you disagree with our top 10 rankings. We'll take it on the chin. So, but until next time,
go Bills.
Go Bills.